I see some impala through there, so maybe he's changed his mind. Maybe the warthogs were being too difficult. Let's just have a look. An impala could be a nice meal as well. Let's just see if we can see him. There he is. He's come up onto another termite mound. There are some impala behind him, but he still looks intent on those pigs. Oh, he's lying down. Okay, let's get a bit closer. Oh, he's lying down. Oh, it's been quite a challenge this morning, especially with our big roof on, to stick with him. I did spot some impala somewhere through, but I don't think they've spotted him. Oh dear. I don't know if we're going to be able to get into a spot with this roof. Say when, Craig? Good. And he's showing that distinctive, funny-looking tongue. He's definitely got the longest tongue on any leopard I've ever seen, old Hukumuri. He does look quite silly. Now, certain leopards do specialize in certain species, Jane, but I wouldn't say they've got an outright favorite. Certain leopards really like warthogs, but at the end of the day, whatever food is available is best. And look, he's a little nick healing above his eye. He's got such a long tongue. He's a funny looking leopard, old Hukumuri. It's definitely the longest tongue I've ever seen, and I've seen leopards in about 11 different African countries. I think the pigs managed to make their escape, and there are some impala around here as well. I don't think he's done hunting just yet this morning. Now, I was talking about Hukumuri's long tongue there, Sama, and Sama's wondering why is he sticking his tongue out. It's just because it's that long. It's a very long tongue. Normally, and also when he's panting after moving, and you can see there it's coming out now that he's panting. So he's been hunting for quite a while. He's done some fast little bursts. I think what happened is he actually probably made a go, judging from how heavily he's breathing and how far he is from where we last saw him, is that he attempted those warthogs, but we couldn't see it. Now, you can see he's got quite a pinkish nose. Vegas, some leopards will have pink noses for life. There is a bit of a misconception with big cats that the older they get, the darker their noses go, specifically with lions. But I've seen a male lion that I know is over 10 years old with a pink nose. So that's sort of it works in some areas, some cases, but a lot of that type of stuff is sort of being disproved slowly with better scientific methods. You can see he's still quite alert, head up, his ears doing the radar thing. But the reason I say it looks like he attempted to catch one of those warthogs is because he's breathing so heavily. So he's exerted a huge amount of energy in a very short time, and obviously, unluckily for him, he didn't catch the warthog. And as I was saying, only 10 to 15% of leopard kills are successful. And remember, if you have any questions about leopards or anything else that's happening here in the African bush, just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or you can pop it on whichever feed you might be watching on. And it seems like Tristan and Taylor have both encountered gremlins, so you're stuck with the Batman and I for the moment, and Hukumuri, of course. And he looks like he's up and moving. Oh, what have we got? I don't know this one, Craig. Oh. He's going to come right behind the vehicle. So he's only about 5 or 6 feet from where Craig's sitting. Where's he going to go? Off he goes there. The Impala the other way, but... Now it looks like there's a little bit of blood on his neck. That is not from a fight or from a wound. What's happened is he's probably scratched one of those big fat grey ticks, and that's popped on his neck, spreading that blood around a little bit. Okay, let's keep up with him. Now, we're not exactly 100% sure how old Hukumuri is. I would say he's around 6 to 7 years old. His dewlap is quite big, but it's not sort of nearly as big as sort of Anderson's or Tingana's. I'd say, yeah, 6 or 7, properly in his prime at the moment. And that's bad news for Tingana. And there we go, isn't that beautiful? So when, Craig, to the pole, you good? Bit more. Let's get past the little bush. There we go. He is an impressive cat. I'd say he's probably similar sized to Tingana when Tingana arrived in this area, but a few years younger. Isn't he beautiful? And he is pushing further and further to the north and taking over more and more of Tingana's territory. Well, a big welcome to a brand new viewer, Miss History. Hi. Yes, Miss History, male leopards tend to stay by themselves, so do female leopards. The leopards are, as a general rule, solitary creatures. They will come into contact. Ooh, there's a big stump, I can't go that way. They will come into contact with each other. Males will often steal kills from females. There will be interactions between males and the females that are within their territory, but as a general rule, they are solitary unless there's a female with cubs. Now, in other parts of Africa, not Africa, other parts of the world, specifically in India, there seems to be, the leopards seem to be a bit more social, but I think that's more due to the lack of space for them in the massive human population that they've been forced into these little pockets, and they tend to be far more tolerant of each other in those areas than they would be here. Okay, we're just trying to get round the thickets. Okay, there he is. So his name is Hukumuri, and a joke around camp means chicken medicine. Hukumuri is a river to the west of us, and that's where initially it was thought that he came from, but we're not 100% sure. It doesn't really mean chicken medicine, white lady Ewan. It's the name of a river like the Mawati or the Moranini. So it's the name of a river in the Sabi Sands, where he was initially thought to be a male called from the Hukumuri. We think he's probably not from the Hukumuri now, but what has happened is that the name is stuck, and I actually quite like it. It's a good name. The Hukumuri is one of my favorite little rivers in the Sabi Sands. It is absolutely gorgeous. He's about to come down. There he is there. So it looks like he's still on the move. We're going to keep up with him, see where he's heading to next. But Taylor is now on the dam cam, apparently.
Goodness gracious, have we not been dragged around by our ankles by the gremlins this morning? Not a great day, but this is the pan. Or I suppose it's actually Vuyatela Dam. Not quite a dam, but it has filled up a nice amount, don't you think? That should be there for a week or two. We are going to have some hot days come around, and it's going to dry the water up quite quickly. And there's a wildebeest. Hello, wildebeest. Running quickly away from us. There he goes. Bye, wildebeest. Thank you so much for stopping by. Are you going to stop there? No, you're going to keep going. He's going into the thicket. He's going towards Mvubu Road now. And to the north, he's out of here. He's off to search for some girls. Now, something that I've been looking for a long time is the elephants. I've been searching for them for about 4 game drives now, and I've yet to find any. So, Chris, I don't know where the elephants are, and you can also insert sad emoji face for me too. It breaks my heart. Actually, insert heartbreaking emoji and crying and disappointed emoji faces, all of them. The ones I normally use. I only use about 3 emojis. Did you see something in there, Ferg? Just having a squiz. That'd be a good place to find some frogs. But sadly, no frogs can be found there. I wonder whether... I was hoping we were actually going to get an explosion of frogs, but that does not seem to be the case. There's no one at the dam today. Not even Mr. and Mrs. Blacksmith Lapwing, or an Egyptian goose, or a kingfisher. Ferg, do you know what I've just seen? Guess. A bedraggled go-away bird. Because remember, Ferg... cheeky. Yeah, okay. Whew. Oh, hello. That was a nice effect, eh? That was a great filter. What happened to the camera there for a second? Is that the glitter filter? The sparkles that were just added? But there is a go-away bird. Oh, look, another bird defecating. What a surprise. We're having a fabulous day. And it's just sort of sitting at the back there again, up perched, drying itself off. Where are you going? Going to go look for some food now? Right, we shall move away from the dam, seeing as though there is absolutely nothing here. Okay, what else are we going to see? Let's see if we can find any fruit on the jackalberry trees, because they should start developing now. No fruit starting to develop just yet. That beautiful go-away bird, they are lovely. They look a lot better when they're not up against a grey sky. They kind of blend in there. So, Susie, shame, I know that the name go-away bird doesn't sound too inviting, does it? A lot of the birds actually get their names from their calls. And, well, that's exactly what a bird sounds like. If I can find my mobile device, which pocket is it in? It is in this pocket. I shall play the call for you, Susie, and then you'll hear exactly why it is called that. Right, bird app. Now we get the bird app. Oh, no. Oh, there it is. That's not one, though. That is a hornbill. I got excited. Now I've got to find, where would it be? Probably going to be near the Taracos. And then, Susie, are you ready? Because I'm about to... Great juggling. This is the call, Susie. Bye-bye, hornbill. Oh, no, it's going to be inside. Hey! Go away! You hear that, Susie? That's where it gets its name from. Telling everybody to go away. Get away from me, fly. So, yes, that's where they get their name from. Oh, my goodness, shame. Tristan has had a serious run around today. I bet he's got a big smile on his face. He's in the tent. Let's go see what he's got planned for you this morning.
Right, so we are in the tent at the moment, and we are sitting, well, back in the tent because Jigger has decided it just doesn't want to work anymore. And so we've parked Jigger and back into the tent again, and we're going to try this for the second time and see if this works. It does seem to be working. Now, Ryan, earlier you were asking Brent how spot patterns work and how we do them. So I'll try and find some examples of leopards quickly on here. It will take 2 seconds to hopefully kind of get into a situation where I can find you a spot pattern. Let me just quickly log in. That should do it, and then we can try and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now, a spot pattern would be, I've got to try and find you some photo quickly of a leopard. No, we don't want to post a photo, we want to try and find one. So basically how it works is you're using spots that are pretty much on the face mostly, other than spots maybe that some certain individuals will have that are unique on their sort of bodies. So like Tingana with the little smiley face, Tamba's got a little heart, Hukumuri's got a nice scar on his left shoulder that helps you with those. So I need to just hold on quickly. Yeah, let's try and find... Alright, we'll use... This is probably not a bad one to use. So this here is basically Tandi, so just cancel that quickly. So this is, Karula, sorry, should I say. So basically the spots that we're going to be using is this spot over here, 1, 2, and then that small one over there. And then on her right-hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those will be spots that you'll use around the whisker area. Then the other spots that we use a lot are around the eye area. So anywhere along this sort of area here, very easy. They're all unique along here. Tandi has 3 big bars that run along her sort of top of her left eye. And then any spots around the face and along these kind of brow lines. You can see with Kruger, she had the wow, which is what everybody knew her for. So these are kind of spot patterns that we'd use. Anywhere above the whiskers is generally where you get that 2-3 number or 3-4 number or 4-4 or 3-3. That's what they're referring to, is these spots above the whisker line. So you can see VM showing you nicely where the little arrows are pointing. So those are the spots that you would use normally, but you can also ID leopards from any of the spots around the head area. That does help. And then, like I say, any spots that you potentially have that are around the face and shoulders, tail, there's often kind of different spots on the legs. And so if you've got a sort of picture that you can reference against, then it's quite easy. But in terms of actual spot pattern, when somebody says, okay, we've got this spot pattern is a 2-2, what they're referring to is those whisker line areas. And that's pretty much how most of the leopards are ID. The problem is that sometimes you'll get a 3-3 in sort of every single male. Franklins are being very rude. I was talking here. That's awfully loud, Franklins. So they've come and said good morning. They're just saying hello to everybody, just saying we are here as well, and don't forget about us as they kind of sit. So that's the spot pattern situation. Hopefully that helps, Ryan, and hopefully you're able to kind of work it out from there. So, Sassy, yes, the body spot patterns are unique. So you'll have a situation where, like I was saying now, all of them have different spots along their sides. And a lot of the research that goes into leopards outside of places like the Sabi Sands. The Sabi Sands is unique in that the leopards are relaxed enough that people see them so often that we can get to know spots so well that you just see them off the bat and we know who they are. In other places where it's a little bit more remote, the leopards aren't as relaxed. They rely a lot on camera trap footage. And so what they'll do is they'll often just get a side profile of a leopard, and then they match the spots given the sort of side profiles that they've got. Very seldom can they actually use the facial features, because a lot of those leopards, they don't actually sit and pose and give you a spot pattern on the face. It's mostly they use the legs and flanks, and every single leopard will have a different spot pattern on their bodies. None of them will be the same. It just takes reference photos and then overlaying them to try and kind of work it out and see. So it's not an easy thing to do. It sounds very easy, but I promise you it's not, when you have to scroll through thousands and thousands and thousands of photographs and try and match them all up. It takes quite a lot of time, and so that's why those that do it for us here and help us with new leopards that arrive here, it's always such an appreciated thing, because it's tough work to do and it takes a long time. So for those of you that have helped us in the past and do help us going forward, it's always a very big thank you to you guys. Right, now just want to see something quickly. So you guys can see that we've got our giraffe skull, and we'll get into our giraffe skull now, but we'll just quickly close off on the spot pattern stuff. Zach, with leopards and cheetah don't have the same kind of whisker spots that you'll see on a leopard, and so generally on cheetah you use flank spots. So you'll use anything along their sides on both the right or the left. Leg spots are also pretty good on a cheetah, and then any identifying feature on cheetahs like nicks in the ears are used quite a bit, or even nicks on the noses. Those kind of things are typical sort of markers for cheetah. They don't have that same kind of, like I say, spot pattern on the front of the face that allows you to be able to kind of work it out as easily as what the leopards are. So you use a lot more kind of their pattern on their sides and their legs more than you do their face with like you would with the leopards. Now I was saying that the giraffe skull I wanted to show you, because these poor stingless bees, they've had a tough time. So these are the stingless bees that you can see, actually 1, 2, whole bunch of them crawling in and out of the tubes at the moment. They're busy actually building, so they come out of the actual tube itself, which is very, very cool. But this poor sort of colony of stingless bees, their whole tube structure was squashed at one point. Unfortunately, the skull fell over and it's crimped down this entrance area and it broke it all up, and it's made a big mess. Now these tubes look like they're very hard, but they're not. They're actually quite soft and sort of sticky. And so what they've done is they've actually, out of the sort of flattened chaos that they've got, they've actually built 4 tubes now. So instead of just the one, they now have 4 of them. So I'm going to try and turn it for VM a little bit so you can see that there are all 4. And it almost looks like something out of Dive Live now. It's almost got a situation where we've got a kind of coral that's growing, except that these are the bees that have produced it. And basically what they're doing is they're slowly but surely building these tubes again and making them larger. And you can see they're very active today. It's the right kind of weather for them. It's nice and cool and overcast, but in the tent is warm and it's dry, and so they're very busy with things that they need to get done. Isn't it amazing that we can actually see them moving around because of how thin the tubes are? You can see them moving in the tubes themselves and going down and actually building the structure. Fascinating stuff. And these guys are some of my favorite little creatures. I think they must be the biggest stars of the tent. We seem to do a thing on them every single time we're in here. It's kind of amazing just to watch the growth of them and to see how they go about things. It's absolutely amazing. So Rad Dads, is given that we are on a giraffe skull, yes, giraffes do have unique patterns as well. Every single one of them will have a different pattern. It's basically like our fingerprint, but recognizing individual giraffes over so many different ones that we have here is quite tough. But if you had the time and you had the sort of inclination to do it, you could most definitely have a situation where you would be able to identify all the different giraffe that we get here via their spots on their body. So pretty much every animal out here, if it's got a distinctive marking like stripes or spots or something like that, can be identified and will all be different to another individual, which is pretty cool. Good. Now Brent Leo Smith has held things together this morning. He has been the glue to our team, and it seems as though he's still following Hukumuri, which I know is not an easy task.
Well, we're still with Hukumuri. We're letting the other vehicles go in front of us at the moment. We will get our chance up at the front shortly. He's heading towards Philemon's Dip now. Now it has been let's see, maybe we can get a view of him through here. If he's He should pop out there shortly. There he is. There he was. So we're still with him. But it was quite nice this morning. I mean, it was difficult. We were very lucky to find tracks as fresh as we did. And I always love being close to a big cat on foot, so I've had a fantastic morning. Faith, they can go quite a few days without a kill. So up to a week, 10 days. But often what happens is they make a lot of small kills that we don't see. Squirrels, tortoises, terrapins, scrub hares. So yes, they probably don't go longer than 2 or 3 days. But leopards have are incredibly adaptable. So if they're really hungry, they'll even eat grasshoppers, termites, birds, I say squirrels, scrub hares, anything small to survive. So it is quite impressive how they are able to do that. So unfortunately there's no area where we can get around. The bush is quite thick on either side through here where he's heading at the moment. But he's definitely still hungry and still on the move, so that's good news for us. Okay, we're going to try sneak up around in front of him to get a better view. While we do that, Tristan's got some... Well, we can take you under the skin of a leopard.
Well, that is the frontal view of a leopard, and not a view you would want to see if you were that close, because it would probably mean that you're about to be chomped. And so that is the dental structure and the front side of a leopard skull. You can see as we come out there are the big canines. Now, this particular leopard skull has kind of been broken apart in the middle, so if we actually pushed it all together, that's how it would be. Everything should be a lot more kind of tighter together, and there wouldn't be this massive fissure between them. But that's the kind of front end. You can see those teeth are rather nasty, those big canines that they've got. And then these guys in front, you can see, are not as sharp. They're quite flattened, actually, and those are all there designed not for meat eating. That is all there to pluck and to dehair their victims. So that's how they get rid of all the bits and try and kind of get all the stuff that they're not going to be able to digest off the animal, and then they will from there kind of start to chew using the side teeth. There we go. So those are the teeth that they use. Unfortunately, this particular skull is missing the bottom row, but you can see they're very triangular. So once the canines have killed and those front teeth have de-haired or de-furred or whatever it may be that they've eaten, then these guys come into play, and these cornashes will basically act like triangles or triangular saws. And so they go up and down, and they basically pull out any little bits of meat and chunks of meat that they need. Now, this particular skull, I'm pretty sure belonged to a female, a young female, that is. And the reason why I say that, you look at the teeth of this particular animal, they are very, very kind of long, and they're not chipped or broken in any way. Also quite white in comparison. Now, I know the skull has been treated and it has kind of been whitewashed almost, but it definitely is a younger individual. Also, I would imagine a male would be much, much bigger. You can see my hand in comparison. If I put my hand behind it, it's about the same size as my hand, which would be a smaller female. It's not a massive individual. Our male leopards like Hukumuri would have a bigger skull than this particular one. But it's an amazing kind of sort of animal. Now, unfortunately, this is quite sort of frail because of all the times we've handled it. But Mrs. Zero, the teeth are brutal. They are perfectly designed for what this animal gets up to, and they really are quite something. Like I say, if you saw that coming towards you, you would be probably quite nervous of what's going on, and you'd probably not want to actually see that as close as what we are seeing it now. You definitely wouldn't want to, but they really are insanely sort of well equipped for the job that they need to kind of get done. And if Hukumuri gets hold of a warthog, these canines are going to be vitally important for him to try and kind of be able to get into that warthog's thick skin and to be able to kill it. But you can see what's interesting with these kind of skulls is and it's very typical of a lot of the cats, is if I turn it around completely and to show you this side, you will see that over here is obviously the brain casing area that you've got, this kind of rounded section, but then there's this massive area that kind of comes through here. Now this will all be muscle that's going to power these jaws, and that's kind of very typical. A lot of the cats, they have these big crest bones that come down with muscles that come off it, and this powers and gives them this sort of amount of power that they've got, able to clamp down and to chew and to kind of rip apart their prey as they go along. So pretty cool to see, and you can see the big sort of areas here where those muscles would have come down and attached to the lower jaw to be able to operate that. Now, SAT, the canines could be used, I suppose, to separate vertebra. I don't think that they do it very often. You must remember, when there's a struggle going on, these guys are just trying to subdue that animal as quick as possible. And so leopards mostly will try and hit on the front and try and get over that nostril for two reasons. One is they close this up, the animal can't breathe, and they shut down the ability for it to breathe, which means it kills quite quickly. The other thing is that it keeps it quiet. So if they can get over the muzzle and the nose, it stops that animal from bleating or from squealing, and that means that it's trying to kind of stop things like hyenas, other leopards, lions, hearing what's going on and rushing in and stealing it. So they do try go for that a lot, and therefore the canines are not really actually used very much. It's more these big muscles around the sort of jaw structure that are trying to hold it and clamp that all together. Then they obviously do go through the throat area. That's where the canines are going to come into effect. You can imagine when those four canines all puncture into your throat, how quickly they can kind of cause a lot of damage. So those will go deep into the skin, and they then wrap around and basically kill the animal that way. So these guys very seldom are going to go for a vertebra. You might find lions are a little bit more different, especially with buffalo. They'll often gnaw into the spine using these canines, and probably the canines do a lot of damage on that spinal area as well as on the tendons on the back legs. So it just depends which cat we're talking about. Good. Now Brent is still off-road, still following Hukumuri, and I wonder what he's up to now.
I'm going to stay with him, yeah. Okay, well, we're still with Hukumuri. He's taking us on a bit of a wild goose chase. He's heading now down towards Weaver's Nest, but through an area we are going to struggle with our roof, so I'm going to have to go around. You see him, Craig? He went into these areas there. Now, all different predators have different success rates, Ryan. And probably the highest success rate is African wild dog, followed by hyena. Hyena actually have a better success rate than lion, leopard. And out of the cats, cheetah's probably got the highest success rate. But however, the problem with cheetahs, even though they might catch more, they lose probably about 50 to 60% of what they catch to hyenas, lions, or leopards. Mostly hyenas, but also to lion and leopard occasionally. Here we go. He stopped not stopped, but he's walking in a patch of open, but not for very long, before he moves through to the next thicket. Okay. Now while he stops to listen and look and see if there's any potential prey around, I stop to look and to see if there's a way I can keep up with him without taking out the roof. Fortunately, there is. Oh dear, not there. Well, Josh is really hoping Tingana shows up. If he does, I think it would be very bad news for Tingana. I think Hukumuri would give him a proper hiding. if they did have to have a fight, I think Hukumuri would take Tingana to the cleaners. Okay. Okay, there he is. That's exactly what I was hoping he was going to do. Hey, big boy. So, Kobe, what do I like most about Hukumuri? Attitude. He just looks like he's got attitude. Male leopards at this age are always quite fun. He just also seems to be very active. And he's a great hunter. What he's come here is to check an old disused aardvark burrow, but unfortunately for him, it's not being used. No warthogs there for you, big boy. Isn't this cool? We're actually looking up at a leopard. And he's looking down on us. He is a beautiful boy. He is moving south again. He hasn't stopped moving since we've been with him today. This is about the longest pause he's had. Or he had a slightly longer pause up on the other termite mound. Hey, big boy. Hasn't been the most successful morning for him just yet. He might rest for a little bit on this termite mound. There we go. I know some people were saying, how could I like Hukumuri more than Tingana and whatnot? I don't know. There's just something about him. And Hathis agrees. He says it's such a beast. He is a beast. He's not the biggest leopard. He just seems to have that sort of devil-may-care attitude. And I'll tell you what, at 2 meters, when he's staring at you through the grass, Shamson says we might like Hukumuri just because the name is fun to say. That too, Hukumuri. It is fun to say. And he's got some really unique sort of characteristics, that extra long tongue and also the fact that we can always identify his tracks from that back right toe that is doesn't retract. And we're going to stay with him and see what he gets up to next. In the meantime, let's go back to Tristan to see how he says Hokamure.
Oh, Brenty. Brenty, I know, has fun when he says his name, and he loves the fact that it's this kind of Japanese style. So does James, actually, and they all call him Hukumuri-san. And that's how everybody around camp, especially, and Louise as well, she also always calls him that. So he's a strange character. I like him. I think he's fun. He's got these kind of very serious face half the time, and he's got a serious amount of attitude, and clearly is not scared of a leopard, because if he was scared, he would have backed down to Anderson, and he didn't. He stood up to Anderson. I'm pretty sure that gash over his right eye is from that encounter. Now, you can see we've laid out a whole bunch more skulls, given that we were on skulls and what was going on, and you can see that we basically go from predator on the right, or strictly carnivore on the right in the form of our leopard, and then as we kind of move down the line, we start to go omnivore, which is in the form of a baboon, and you can also just give it an idea of how big baboons are when you see it up against that leopard skull. Then we go to a vervet monkey, still omnivore, but a little bit more kind of a fruit diet, and then right at the end we have a antelope that's going to be a herbivore. And so what I thought we'd look at is dental structure is one thing. So you'll see with these kind of animals that the dental work changes as we go through. So if you look at something like a baboon, and we get rid of our leopard skull because we've done that already, if you look at the baboon skull itself, you'll see that in front, very, very, very pronounced incisors that are going to be useful for all kinds of feeding behavior, from things like fruits, so marulas, when they're peeling off that skin, they're going to be able to eat that, in also any little seeds or things that they want to get to. Then they've got really massive canines. If you compare their canine, and I'll just grab the sort of skull of the leopard, which has fallen apart a little bit, and we compare the size of that baboon canine to the size of the leopard canine, you can see how much longer that baboon canine is. So they have a massive, massive set of canines, which they'll use not only obviously to try and hunt and to try and get food, but also as a defensive tool. Remember that baboons are not animals that have very sharp claws, and so they rely on big, sharp canines when territorially disputing one another. Now, it's a bit of an unfair comparison in some ways, because this is obviously a female leopard versus a big male baboon, but it just gives you an idea of how massive those canines are. And you can see they're not as thick as what you see on the leopard, and that's because they don't do nearly as much hunting. They have a much more sort of small, pointy canine in comparison to the leopard's stouter canine, which is used a lot more in the hunting process. Baboons obviously are not meat eaters nearly as much as what you see from a leopard. Then if you turn to the sort of side of the skull, you can see they do have the triangular sort of teeth that leopards have, but not nearly as pronounced. In fact, it's more human-like, and if you saw that tooth by itself, you would say that looks very human-like, but it acts as the same way. It's able to not only chew up meat, but if you look, there's also little sort of ridged or flattened areas that help grind down any sort of vegetation that they chew, and fruit and those kind of things as well. So it looks like pretty much like what you would see from a human sort of dentition. So that's an omnivore. It's basically got the best of everything. And then if you look at the herbivore, you can see that you've got a situation where those teeth, there's obviously no canines, no incisors on this particular jaw. The incisor might have been on the bottom jaw. And then you've got these flattened molars that are basically designed just to crush down and paste every little bit of vegetation that they get. So those are a very different structure, even to the omnivorous sort of baboon back end teeth or molars. These have got far less ridging to it and far less triangular shape to them, which is pretty cool. So this goes to show that all of these skulls are different and all designed for best possible use. Now, Rebecca, I know you fed me through a question, but my mind has forgotten, so you need to be able to... Okay, you can send me whatever you want. So wisteria, these cats' teeth are not, well, I suppose they are ivory, if you want to call it that. I mean, an elephant tusk and warthog tusk, hippo tusk, if you want to call them that, or tusha, is ivory, and so theoretically yes, but they're just not really able to use it for anything. It's too small to be carved or to be used in any ornamental values, and so ivory is basically a tooth, a modified tooth. That's basically what ivory is. Now Taylor McCurdy has just come past, and she's been doing all kinds of funny faces to try and make me laugh in the background, but she's now moved off. She didn't want us to put her on camera, I don't think, but essentially it is ivory. I mean, it's a tooth. Obviously ivory in the sense is these more kind of modified incisors that are these big protrusions out of an animal's mouth or face, and whereas these are not that big at all. And like I say, these have no commercial value because they're just too small to do anything with them. It's not like they can really do too much carving through any of these sort of jaws or teeth. Now Bex, you can repeat that other question because I forgot. Okay, there we go. So P-Heart, you're asking about skulls of monkeys and whether they are unclosed like human babies. I don't know, actually, to be honest with you. I don't know if that is the actual sort of situation. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you, but I would imagine it would be very similar. I actually want to just turn the skull a little bit and just see. It might be, actually, if you have a look here. Sorry, Willem, I'm going to have moved them out the way a little bit. But if you have a look in underneath there, there is a situation where it sits absolutely flush, and it almost looks as though maybe at one point those were joined and then kind of rounded out and separated. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm not sure, to be honest. I have no idea, to be honest. We'll have to try and kind of figure it out. Maybe some of you can help us with that. But amazing to kind of see the sort of interesting parts about these skulls. And there's a few other things I want to get into. But before we do that, let's send you back to Hukumuri on the mound.
Well, there we go. You can see how well his camouflage works on top of a termite mound. And when he sits like that, as we go a bit wider, you'll see his head just looks like possibly a chimney from the termite mound. So you can see there's a chimney to the right of him. So he's decided to have a little rest on this termite mound. He has had a busy morning, and he's covered quite a fair bit of distance as well since we have found him. And a lot of that zigzagging after the pigs that escaped. He's earned his rest, but it's a cool day today, so he might move throughout the day. Hopefully he does decide to stay on Djuma and not disappear to the south, which he has been known to do from time to time. Oh, Bridget, his paws are relatively big, but compared to my hand, much smaller than a lion. So probably his paw would fit on the inside of my hand. I've got quite big hands there, so that's probably how big they'd be. I wonder if he's going to get moving. A little yawn. He might have a nap for an hour or two up here before heading on to see if he can find anything else. It was an exciting morning following him on the hunt, though. Lots of guesswork, lots of disappearing by him. And I'm certain he had a go at those warthog. We just couldn't see him at the time, just from how heavily he was panting. Well, we're going to hang out here for the last little while. In the meantime, Tristan's got some more stuff to show you in the tent.
Indeed we do. So we got onto the subject of skulls, and kind of I was saying there's a few other things that I wanted to show you. And basically, if we look at a leopard, we know leopards are not, well, they're intelligent animals. We know that they're very calculating and they're able to work things out and they know what they're doing. So if you look at the brain case of this particular animal, I mean, you can see this is a leopard's brain case. It's got quite a bit of swelling here, so a fairly decent sized brain given the size of the skull itself. It's kind of able to process things, it's able to calculate, it's able to work out how to hunt. But if you take in comparison a monkey's skull in size difference and how big its brain casing is in comparison, it gives you an idea of how much intelligence monkeys have. Look at the size of this brain casing here, which is absolutely massive. It's, in fact, I would say probably, relatively speaking, maybe even 4 or 5 times the size, if not more than that. And it fascinates me that you can see these animals are highly, highly intelligent. So baboons and monkeys are probably two of our sort of most intelligent animals that we have out here. They are able to work things out much like we are, and it's just amazing to see how the skulls are so different in relation to the rest of the size. The other really interesting thing that I find with monkeys, which you would think because they're very close to us in sort of the lineage and how we kind of process things, is that if you actually turn them upside down, you can see that both of them have got pits in the roof of their mouth. Now, we as humans do not have those pits, so we do not have the organ of Jacobson in the roof of our mouth, but yet both monkey and baboon do. So both of them have those pits, and that's where that scent will go in and how they're able to work out if females are in estrus and whether there's territorial males, which is pretty interesting to me. I didn't think we would have a situation where the vervet would have it. I thought baboons had it, but I didn't actually know the vervets had it. So pretty interesting just to kind of have a look and see that they also possess that ability to be able to basically sniff other things out. Good. Now, the other interesting thing with all of this is you can actually also see how these animals work. You can see baboons, monkey, leopard, all of their eyes are on the front. Obviously, baboon and monkey's a little bit more so. So they have binocular vision, all three of these, whereas the antelope species, because it doesn't need to focus on one prey item, it needs to be safe and needs to be able to see all around it. Its eyes are on the side of the head for basically a 180-degree view on each side, which then protects this animal from being hunted, and it's able to pick up movement pretty much all the way around its body, whereas these guys, which are focusing, I mean, monkeys, obviously they're looking for fruits and those kind of things, but also need to look out for predators and even prey animals. They've got binocular vision, much like us, as do the leopards, and they're able to work out and judge distance incredibly well. And like I say, because they don't have to worry about things really hunting them from behind that often, they're much easier for them to be able to look and see what's going on. The other thing is also with monkeys is that they're in a troop format, so even though they don't have their eyes on the side of their head and they are hunted by a lot of different things, they have everybody's eyes together. Gives them an almost 360-degree view of what's going on, which is very, very cool. Right, good. Remember that Webby is a situation where we are nominated for awards, so we'd love for you guys to vote for it. Remember that it will be on Safari Live's Facebook page after Drive, so you can click on there and then you'll be able to just follow the links through and be able to vote. Now, I think that it is almost that time for Drive to finish. I'm not sure. Rebecca, am I sending you all off to somewhere else? I think so. Okay, yes. So I'm going to send you across to, well, the man of the show, really, the one who's held most of it. Let's send you back to Brent and the star Hukumuri.
Well, he's up on the move again. Just trying to get to a good spot. Looks like he's checking termite mounds. Let's just try find a nice view of him. Oh, sorry, Craig. How's that? Now, it looks like he is going to continue to move slowly throughout the day. He might stop for a snooze for a few hours. And leopards do that, especially on a nice cool day like this. He's hungry. He's not starving, but he is hungry. So, yes, he might move quite a bit today. Oh, he's been spotted by dwarf mongoose. And the termite mound he was heading towards. You can hear how upset the dwarf mongoose are. There's one just there. Oh, he's run underground. Shame. Very panicky about that. Oof, they're upset. He's looking towards the termite mound where all the dwarf mongoose are. And he'll probably just keep moving past it now because of all the alarm calls. Now, remember, we're trying to not only bring you the wildest of Africa on land, we're also trying to bring you the greatest part of our oceans underwater. So have a look at our Kickstarter campaign. We'll be tweeting how you can aid us in that. So just remember that. I'm going to try and get one last view. I don't think it's going to be possible. He's gone behind the termite mound. Wait. Bye-bye, Hook. See you this afternoon. Bye, everyone.